Hello, it's Music Appreciate, and we're looking at the actual crucifixion of Christ now. And as they led him away, they seized one Simon of Cyrene, who was coming in from the country, and laid him on the cross to carry it behind Jesus. And there followed him a great multitude of the people and of women who were mourning and lamenting for him. But turning to them, Jesus said, "Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For behold, the days are coming when they say, Blessed are the barren and the wombs that never bore, and the breasts that never nursed. Then they will begin to say unto the mountains, Fall on us, and to the hills, cover us. For if they do these things when the wood is green, what will happen when it is dry?" Two others who were criminals were led away to be put to death with him. And when they came to a place that is called the Skull, there they crucified him and the criminals, one on his right and one on his left. And Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." And they cast lots to divide his garments. And the people stood by watching, but the rulers scoffed at him, saying, "He saved others. Let him save himself if he is the Christ of God, his chosen one." The soldiers also mocked him, coming up to him, offered him sour wine, and saying, "If you are the king of the Jews, save yourself." There was also an inscription over him, "This is the king of the Jews." One of the criminals who were hanged railed at him, saying, "Are you not the Christ? Save yourself and us." But the other rebuked him, saying, "Do not fear God, since you are under the same sentence of condemnation, and indeed justly for us. We are receiving the due reward of our deeds, but this man has done nothing wrong." And he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And he said to him, "Truly I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise." It was now about the 6th hour, and there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour, when the sun's light failed, and the curtain of the temple was torn in two. And Jesus called out with a loud voice and said, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." And having said this, he breathed his last. Now when the centurion who saw what had taken place, he praised God, saying, "Certainly this man was innocent." And all the crowds that assembled for the spectacle, when they saw what had taken place, returned home beating their breasts. And all his acquaintances and the women who had followed him from Galilee stood at a distance watching these things. Okay. It's Good Friday, 2025. And all I want to do is a meditation on these events, how they display the glory of our God and his Son. Simon of Cyrene, at first in verse 26 of chapter 23, was a convenient guy. Cyrene is in, I believe, Ethiopia, and laid the cross on him, which is a merciful thing. They seized him, though. They probably considered him an outsider and a slave, and here, you carry his cross. Now that would be a mercy to Jesus, but they thought, that his carrying his cross is something that's like a slave. And so they had no regard for Simon. And then a great multitude of the people and of women who were mourning and lamenting for him. Okay, so the women, well, they were so struck to the heart, and as a way only a woman can be. And they wept. And Jesus, daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me. Weep for yourselves and for your children. For behold, the days are coming when they will say, blessed are the barren, and the wombs that have never bore, and the breasts that have never nursed. Then they will begin to say to the mountains, fall on us, to the hills, cover us. This is an echoing of the Old Testament, and a prefigure of the book of Revelation, where it says that those people begged for the mountains to fall on them. And they said, fall on us and hide us from the wrath of him who sits on the throne and from the Lamb. For the great day of their wrath has come, and who shall stand? This is a message of judgment. If they do these things when the wood is green, if they do these things when the revelation of my glory is high, what will happen when I ascend to heaven? What will happen when the earth deems that God is dead? What will happen when people mock and blaspheme him left and right with no regard? When they cannot see him, all they can see is the creation. So their futures are worse, certainly, than I think they estimated. And therefore, they saw that Jesus was being abused and driven to the cross, and they were sad about that. But Jesus says, look at the human race. Look what they're doing. What are they going to do at the time of my second coming, just before it? Two others were criminals, were led away to be put to death with him. Okay. We know one of them is the good thief, right? The good thief. They went to the place that is called the Skull. That's Golgotha. And then they crucified him. It just mentions that they crucified him. It doesn't give details of how. But I suppose Roman history does document how that would have been done. And they went to the skull, crucified him. He's the middle cross. And that was interesting that he was the middle cross. They almost made him mockingly the star of this crucifixion. Because look what was emblazoned over his head. You know, this is the King of the Jews. The other guys didn't claim to be kings. They were just criminals, and I suppose they were getting what they were due. And here's Jesus, when they crucified him, when he's in infinite pain, when the Father is letting him go through that. When the Father's wrath is being poured out, his eternal fury against all sin, against all repentant sinners of all time. He says, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. The only thing that you could do to not be forgiven is to know exactly what you're doing and do it anyway, because you're so hardened. But for these people, Jesus does pray for them, even on the cross. And then they gambled for his robe. Luke just mentions that in passing. And Matthew describes what was at stake here, the parts of his garments. But Luke does not. And then the people stood by watching, but the rulers scoffed at him. The people who were watching didn't know what to make of it. They were bewildered. They were terrified. They knew he had done good. They knew he was healing. They knew he cast out demons. They knew he took every disease away among the people. And then the soldiers joined in on it. The rulers, that is the Jews, scoffed at him. The soldiers mocked him and said basically the same thing. If you're the king of the Jews, save yourself. What that is a twofold. They hated Jesus and they hated all the Jews all at the same time. So it's the supreme act of anti-Semitism. Not only do you hate the King of Kings, not only do you hate the Lion of the tribe of Judah, you hate the whole race. And it's the ultimate coup de grace of Satan, so he thinks. And then inscription that was written over him, "This is the King of the Jews." This is the what prevailed from the discussion in other gospel when it says some of the Jews try to get him to say, "This man claimed I am the King of the Jews." One of the criminals railed at him, of course. "Are you not the Christ? Save yourself and us." Unbelievable level of callous, cold hatred. You wanted to be saved. He doesn't realize the man next to him is innocent. And he's guilty. And he's compounding his guilt by being angry at Jesus. And he's about to go to hell. But the other one rebuked him. "Do you not fear God, since you are under the same sentence of condemnation? I'm dying, you're dying, he's dying. I know he's done nothing wrong. But I know we have. And we're just getting what we did, man. We did the crime, and now we're making the payment." But Jesus, absolutely nothing. Nothing wrong. And he came humbly and said, Jesus, he came in a low level, right? He humbled himself before the Lord, and he was lifted up, right? When he come in and says, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." He didn't even think he was worthy of it. He just thought he wanted an honorable mention. And here's Jesus in all of his loving kindness saying to him, "Truly I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise." And it was now about the 6th hour, and then we have the details of his death. At the time he actually yielded his spirit up to the Father. And there was darkness over the whole land till the 9th hour. There's your 3 p.m. notion right there. The sun's light failed, and the curtain of the temple was... There were miracles going on here. The sun's light failed. When did that ever happen? And the curtain of the temple was torn in two. It didn't say somebody tore it. It just said it was torn. And Jesus calling out a loud voice, another miracle. Why? Because if you're asphyxiated, if all of the weight of your body is crushing you, and you're supported by your arms, and you're supported by your legs, and they have nails through them, you can't raise yourself. And yet he was able to manage a loud cry, and that's a miracle. Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. And having said this, he breathed his last. Tomorrow on Holy Saturday, we will pick up. Thank you.